good afternoon, everybody. This is Jeff Morton, your host of Let's Talk About It. I'm really animated about today's show. I'm going to be talking with Dr. Jon Harmon. I'll bring him on in just a minute. But those of you who know me know that I'm emphatic about learning different modalities as opposed to taking a pill and another pill and another pill and another pill and managed care and all that kind of stuff. You've heard me rant about this for a long time. Well, Dr. Jon Harmon is someone that I've come across through another friend, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing, and I get it, and I absolutely was looking forward to having him come onto the broadcast so that we can kind of have this conversation about a lot of things. But before we do that, I want to read who Dr. Jon Harmon is. He's married to Carla Harmon, father of 8 children of his own and 2 stepchildren, grandfather of 27 children, guys. Bachelor of Science degree in human biology, attended the University of Utah, 1983 through 1986, graduated summa cum laude with a Doctor of Chiropractic degree from Los Angeles College of Chiropractic in 1989, board certified in neurofeedback and quantitative EEG, speaks fluent German, which I've heard, ICP certified. I'm going to have to ask him about that because I have no idea what that is. And, got to turn my phone off here. Let's see. Author of the book, How to Reverse Aging, A Comprehensive Guide to Copper Peptides. We're going to talk about that today. Also, he's the author of the book, Reversing Aging, The Reverse Aging Power of I tried to say this earlier. Epitalon, he's going to correct me, I'm sure. Unleashing the Secrets of Longevity and the Fountain of Youth. Folks, I absolutely get this. I understand what this means. Keynote speaker at the Energy Healing Conference in Utah and Idaho, president and founder of Clear Mind Idaho. Played the drums in a 1970s rock band. Most importantly, marbles champion of my elementary school. Dr. Harmon, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you very much.
You were the marbles champion. Okay, geez.
You know, I kept that little certificate I got. I was so proud of that. I wish I kept the marbles, actually.
Well, that's kind of cool. I used to play marbles when we all did. Our age group all played marbles, I believe.
Yeah.
And then I graduated to craps in the alley. But tell me, what is ICP, IAS certified? What is that?
That's IAS certified practitioner. That's the type of the neurofeedback that we do. It untrains, instead of training the brain over a long period of time like the older style neurofeedback, it untrains the primitive brain from the faulty pattern where it's stuck. So the brain can start regulating itself more normally, and then symptoms go away like anxiety, depression, seizures, tremors, cognitive decline, autism. We help pretty much everything that goes on in the brain.
Well, I appreciate that. I was talking to my wife, who's actually just joined the show. I watched the one video, the hour-long presentation you did about how, and we're going to jump right into all of this stuff. There's a part that you were talking about how our brain is influenced by exterior things, and we end up believing them until pretty soon they become a regular part of how we think. And a lot of times they don't even belong to us, but we adopt them. That was very fascinating to me because I know we all grew up through stuff. Now, you started before the show, and I'll let you elaborate that on a minute. You started telling me before the show, I asked you, how did you end up going from chiropractic care to all of this? Would you share what you shared with me to the audience?
Yeah, it's kind of a tragic story. In the beginning, it was on Dateline twice and American Monster twice, and you never think those things are going to happen to your own family. What happened was in March of 2010, my 18-year-old niece committed suicide. Now, mind you, at that time, my practice was general, family and sports chiropractic. I later expanded into oxidative medicine, We were doing IV therapies and helping people with Lyme and mold and Epstein, all of those things. But that time, I had a family practice, and my 18-year-old niece committed suicide in March of 2010. In March of 2011, and you can look this up, it was very public. My son-in-law was an attorney here in town, having an affair with his paralegal. And apparently husbands don't like that. And he was gunned down in a Walgreens parking lot in Meridian, Idaho, in March of 2011. So it was almost exactly a year later. And then the next year, my sister, 2 years older than I, passed away. And my younger daughters and my granddaughters, my oldest granddaughters are twins, and they're only 2 years younger than my youngest daughter. And so my young daughters, my granddaughters, they all had anxiety, depression, and insomnia, and they were a mess. We went through 4 years of counseling and prescription drugs, and they weren't working. So I went on a mission to try to find things to help them with their brains, because nothing else we found was helping. And that's when I found neurofeedback, and I was really fascinated by it. I brought it into my practice, tried to do that along with my chiropractic. And in the midst of that, I went for some dental work, and he had to put a dental dam in, and I get claustrophobic. So he put me under conscious sedation, and I woke up. Now, mind you, I'm in healthcare. I was doing oxidative medicine, helping people from the result, or with the results of their having had a root canal, and getting infection. And I woke up from the conscious sedation, and these words came out of the dentist's mouth. That was so bad, I had to do a root canal. And I was still under the influence of the drugs, and I'm trying to process that. And he could very well have said, I had to cut your right foot off. I mean, it had that much of a meaning to me. And a week later, my right wrist puffed up like a football, and I had a bone infection in my wrist. It was already arthritic from all of the chiropractic I did. And the surgeon came in and said, if we don't do surgery, you got about a 50% chance of making it. There's about a 100% chance that you're not going to be able to bend your wrist again. So a drummer and a chiropractor can't bend his wrist again. That's great. So I was forced to come to a point where I stopped feeling sorry for myself. And I said, you know what? This is not the end of my story. I can go a different direction. And that's when I made the commitment. I'm going to learn everything I need to know about brains to help people get their brains right. So I took courses in functional neurology and laser therapy and neurofeedback. And I couldn't go to work for 2.5 months. I relearned how to use my hand, and off I went in this direction. That's when I founded Clearmind Idaho. It's kind of a long story, but it changes the way you look at things. Like, it's certainly my exit out of chiropractic wasn't the way I thought it was going to happen, but I've been able to help thousands of people with issues they think are life sentences. People who come into my office, they've usually tried everything, and then they come in, I say, your nervous system's out of balance, we got to balance it back out, and then the symptoms go away. It's more complex than that, but in a way it's that simple, because I looked at what are the symptoms when somebody gets stuck in fight or flight. Anxiety is the first one. You better be anxious if a tiger's chasing you down the trail. You're not going to make it. So we have two emergency systems in our brain. And I tell people that it's way out of balance. And then we have ways of balancing that back to within normal limits. And then symptoms don't live there.
My wife just told me, you look like you're trying to go to sleep. No, I'm listening intently because I get it. It's like, I'm a stage 4 cancer survivor, and I had interior squamous cell carcinoma. They immediately told me it was stage 4 and they had to chop. And so they did. They didn't find that the pathology report came back. They couldn't find it, but they laser cut my throat. And for a period of time, I was difficult to breathe. Wow. However, what I did do is I didn't take the medications that they wanted me to take. I had to take something for the pain going down my throat, which was a pink liquid, basically dulled it. But I went completely raw food. I didn't eat any cooked food, all vegetables, all organic. And I remember when I went back, and this was like leading up to the surgery, when I went back in to have the staples, I had 70 staples that went down my throat and back up under my chin. And the doctor goes, whoa, wasn't expecting this. Your skin has already grown over the staples. And he says, what's going on? That was a click for me, because the lady who told me I had carpal tunnel in my finger. I couldn't hold a pencil up at one point. This was before the surgery. And she said, just drink organic apples and carrot juice, juice it. So just drink about 16 ounces of that for a few days. And I have never had this problem since. And that began to open the door for me to look at, well, geez, this is stuff that grew out of the ground. That's the way it used to be before they started doing petrochemicals and all this stuff. Let me go back to this. And so I really went on this tangent about looking at herbs. And, I had a website called Dirt Is Not Dirty, because it produces all the things that we need for our body to work. Anyway, that began to cause me to start looking at alternative stuff versus managed care, synthesized medicines, and all those. And the more, I got to tell you, the more that I step into this arena, the angrier I get. However, there's a door out of all of this, and that's kind of what you bring to the table. So you know what I'm talking about. I'd love you to elaborate.
Absolutely. I was raised that way. My grandmother was kicked out of the kitchen. She was told to go outside. She was crunching down on her raw vegetables when she was 10. And she was telling her whole family they needed to eat their vegetables raw because they're better for her. No one knows where she got that information, but that's my background. So I've always been more oriented to things that A, don't harm people with side effects, and B, it's a more natural way of improving health.
I read several articles about side effects, and I went, wow, side effects are the part of the medicine that your body's rejecting. So since your body's rejecting this, we'll give you another pill to stop that rejection. And on and on and on it goes. And I was like, this is criminal. And then I read another paper about how doctors make a good percentage of their income from prescriptions. And this is a racket. The more that I got into all of this, the more I'm realizing, like, oh my God, I'm a slave to the profitability of the pharmaceutical companies, and the medical community has no clue, in my opinion, for the most part, about alternative care, alternative modalities. It's just not taught. They just don't know. They're not taught. It's not part of the curriculum. So I've been on this tangent now for about 7 years, looking at all the other alternative things. And we call them alternative things, but to me, they're kind of the original things. And the more technology that we tap into, the more we realize we're just really going back to what was before we started messing with it. Anyway, that's my whole thing on that subject.
Yeah, and I say side effects. They're actually not side effects. They are effects of the drug.
Right.
That's
exactly right.
Well, we didn't know about this. Well, there's a certain percentage of people who take a drug that will have that effect or this effect. They're not really side effects. We know them as side effects. That's why I said that, but they're actually effects of the drug.
Well, but you would also agree that when you have the effect of the drug, they give you another drug to deal with the effect of the drug. I mean,
Yeah, but you know, on the commercials, there's always nice music playing when they're telling you how the different ways they can maim or kill you. So as long as there's nice music playing, it seems to be okay, because a lot of people still use them.
I put a spoof on Facebook about this very subject because I'm going, every other commercial is a new medicine that you can't pronounce. I sit and wonder who came up with this name, and then I listened to the commercials actually about the side effects, not the drug, and it's just kind of my way of seeing those. When you have a product, you can take one pill and it's got 12 side effects. One includes death. I got to sit back and go, hey, something's wrong with this.
One of the first things I tell young kids when they come in, actually adults too, I say, I want you to know there's nothing we do in this clinic that hurts, and we don't use things that have side effects. And they look at me like, wow, what a concept. No, well, nothing hurts and nothing has side effects.
Tell me about the biofeedback or the brain thing. I'm curious as to what that means.
Neurofeedback.
Neurofeedback, yes.
The biofeedback's different. That's like teaching people how to control their breathing or their heart rate or their skin temperature or different things. That's biofeedback. Neurofeedback is similar, but it's for the brain. So the older style of neurofeedback, it's monitoring the brain waves. And we had to do a QEEG, and I did those for 5 years. That's a brain map. And we find out which of our brain waves out of the 4 on the left, for example, are overpowered or underpowered. They're working too hard or not working enough. And similarly on the other side. And then the protocols are designed to train whatever is too active down and whatever is not active enough up on both sides at the same time. And so one would be watching a video, a movie, or on something on TV. You got specialized pulsing glasses on that have little lights in the 4 quadrants of the visual field. And then you have headphones on. And it's monitoring those brainwaves. And when it's doing the right pattern, it would let you see the video. And when it's outside of the range of normal, it would dim everything. The audio and visual you can't hear it as well and you can't see it as well. And then it comes back on hundreds of times a minute. And it has a 60-year history of success with the older style. This newer style comes along, and instead of training the brain over a long period of time, it cuts to the chase where it all started. And that's in the primitive brain, and untrains it from the faulty pattern that's causing your brain to be stuck in emergency mode. And that's the problem. When your brain is in emergency mode, there are certain things that don't work well. The things that don't need to work when you're running from a tiger would be financial decisions, attention, executive function, reasoning. You're not doing any of that when you're stuck in fight or flight. You're just getting the heck out. You got pupils dilated so you can see the tiger hiding in the grass. If that stays on, it turns to hypervigilance. I got to see everything. Or OCD. If your superhuman hearing stays on, like you're stuck in that mode, well, they were there. They were on for a very good reason. There's a tiger hiding out and you have to hear him and other things. But the main thing is that when you're stuck in that mode, the parts of our other, what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, can't work. What's that? Sleep, digestion, resting, healing, immune function. Those get basically almost turned off when you're in battle, because, I'll heal later. I'll my immune function later after the battle. I can't deal with that right now. And so here's this person, like my family had so many things happen in a short period of time. My daughters and granddaughters, and we're all stuck in this mode of something's going to happen. I don't know what it is, but I'm ready. I'm ready for it. Something's going to happen. And so that's the neurofeedback sends 3 trillionths of a watt of just the perfect frequency to untrain that part of the brain from the faulty pattern. So then it can start going back into a normal pattern, which normally takes somewhere between 10 to 20 sessions. Autistic and cognitive decline people take longer, but that's pretty normal for us. All of those issues in the brain just start to, as my daughter said, "Daddy, my anxiety just went poof." She couldn't think of another word. So that's what we do.
So how much of where people get stuck, because you listed off a variety of areas, but how much of that is trauma or emotion?
Well, there are three things that cause the brain to shift. One of them is head trauma, one of them is emotional trauma, and the other one is chemical exposure. Mold, Lyme. You got neurological problems with Lyme. You got neurological problems with mold, which causes OCD and anger and other things. Those are a result of being exposed to something. If that system has ever been activated in you in a life-threatening situation, it's a remarkable system. People can lift cars when that gets activated. How did you rescue your son? He was under the truck. Well, I just lifted it up. But it's not supposed to be that way. And I tell couples who come into the office, you're both they don't come in at the same time. They're almost divorced. They come in and you're our last hope, man. We can't work things out because they're both in battle mode. What happens when you're in battle mode? If words are perceived as swords, if I lose this silly argument about crumbs on the countertop or socks on the floor, I'm going to die. So I'm going to defend this position till the nth degree, even though my logical brain would say, this is really silly, but my logical brain isn't on right now. It's my battle mode. I'm going to die. Something's out there, and I don't know what it is, and that's why I have social anxiety, because I can't stand to be out because something's out there. It's going to get me. It got activated. That system is overactive, and I can't get out of it. Everybody who comes into my office, we actually test the things that come from the other part of the system, the part of the system that's for resting, digesting, healing, sleep. Almost all parts of the body get dual input from the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. We test 14 functions that only get nerves from the parasympathetic. And if they're stuck in sympathetic freeze, then a lot of those functions won't be working, and that confirms they are stuck. And then those things come back on as their brain gets better, and then their symptoms go away. So there are people who live their entire lives not really aware that this is actually happening. One of the things that I saw in one of your videos was you broke down how the body responds. You did the genes, the mitochondria, different things that we don't know about it. We take a pill, we drink a glass of water, we go to bed, we hope for the best. But there's ways and things that we can do to literally reactivate parts of our body, parts of our makeup. I was really fascinated what I'm trying to say with the 1 hour presentation that you did, where you kind of covered a lot of this territory. And now with the neural brain stuff, you're basically rewiring or resetting the brain. And then all of these other things, how does this, what I love about homeopathic medicine or different, is they tend to deal with the whole body, the whole thing, and get to the root cause of what's going on, as opposed to medicate it, cut it out, and send you home. I'm fascinated by this. I don't even know what kind of question to ask you. So you're going to have to really kind of keep going with breaking all this down, because I know people that live their whole life stuck. Yes, and they don't know they're stuck. It's kind of like the Sixth Sense. They're dead, but they don't know they're dead.
I know the movie well.
Yeah. That's one of the movies that got me. They fooled me on that one. But this is
wait a minute, back up. I watched that whole movie, and you can ask my wife, I'm very good at figuring out a movie.
Well, me too. I got him
watched that
figured
whole
out
movie
right
and
away.
I never knew he was dead.
No,
Never knew it.
they got me on that one. I was dumbfounded at the
How
end.
funny.
Are
That's
you
funny.
kidding me? That was good. I like
All right.
movies like that because most of the time I go, this is what's going to happen. Blah, 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 blah.
My wife gets annoyed with me. She can't watch a movie with me. You already got the end now. Why should I watch this? That movie. That's the only movie that got me. Dr. Harmon, that's the only movie that got me.
Yep, me too.
Oh, that's funny.
That's
But
it.
anyway, back to our discussion.
Well, that's why I wrote the book. Because there are things that we can do to support the body. I tell people all the time, I have several goals I want as I age. And if these things are true when I'm 90, there's a lot of good stuff going on. I want to remember who I am. I don't want to be meeting a new person in my house every 15 minutes who's my spouse. And I want to be the one who's healthy enough, whose joints are healthy enough. My cognition is good. I'm hardy enough to go be the one who travels, not stuck at home and they have to come and visit me. I'm going to be the one at 90 who gets those things. So I wrote the book about copper peptides because of the health benefits that come from within, the reverse aging benefits that we get from elevating GHK copper peptide. We make it in ample supply when we're up to about 25 or 30, and then it starts to decrease by about 35. And this is why it hurts more when you fall. You get more blemishes on your face, and wrinkles and gray hair and that stuff. Aging starts to happen. That's one of the big reasons why. So we have this previous ability to maintain things in a really healthy state. Part of it is that the GHK copper peptide starts to decline. Here's why. It is that peptide that turns on the genes that signal your body to make more of your own stem cells. Stem cells, I call them, those are the cells that haven't decided what they want to be when they grow up. So your body makes them, they come out and they say, whoa, we need some more liver cells. Let's be that. Let's turn into that. We need some more whatever type of cell. Let's be that. We need some kidney cells. If you don't, as the ability to make those declines, what happens? Well, your body's supposed to kill off 50 to 70 billion cells a day. That's almost like government numbers. It's supposed to kill them off. But what happens? If you lack the resources to replace them, you can't do that because it's part of your kidney or part of your liver. I can't just kill them all off. I have nothing to replace them with. And so what happens? One of two things will happen to those cells. They'll either become zombie cells. It's a real term. And that's where the cell is not doing the job that it's designed to do, but it's demanding to be fed. So you have to supply these cells with life-giving nutrients, but they're not doing anything in return. This is part of aging. So now if you can increase your own stem cells to replace and repair, your body looks at that and says, holy cow, I can get rid of all of the sick ones over here, the diseased ones, the ones that aren't doing any work. I'm going to wipe those out, recycle all the stuff, and I'm going to replace them with these stem cells. This is reverse aging. That's why the title of the book is How to Reverse Aging, a comprehensive guide to copper peptides. I go through each system of the body with 91 references to the literature. Literature since 1977. That's how long research has been going on about the GHK copper peptide. There's so much information about the benefit we have for brains with that peptide that I had to break it up into 3 chapters. The rest of the systems in the body get one each. There's cardiovascular, the skin, there's stem cells, but the brain, so much benefit for brain function and maintenance that we actually include this as part of our protocols at Clear Mind, Idaho, helping people with their brains.
So, the more that I investigate all this stuff, I mean, I'm a person, I love people. I think people are the most amazing thing. Uh, Literally, I think we are the most complicated, intricate, amazing things in existence. And I think we don't realize just how amazing we are. We kind of live these mundane existences, or we live through trauma, or we just exist, and we don't realize how amazing our body is, which is what I loved about watching all the videos. I haven't got the books yet. I'm gonna order. I haven't ordered either one of them because I forgot, but I'm gonna order both of them. Um, I'm fascinated by how the body can repair itself when we know what to do. And that's kind of the mission that you're on. It's just to educate people that your body will repair itself if you give it what it needs, less all of the profitability in the companies that are feeding you something else destructive, then your body will react. This is kind of the heart and soul of what you do.
Yeah, it is. I was raised that way. My mom and my grandma. I have always been, even when in chiropractic, I've always tried to look at what is deeper to the core of this. You know, people would come in with neck pain. And I said, well, you know what? Did anybody ever look at your collarbone? You know, you've been going to that chiropractor for a long time, but yet you're here. Let me look at your collarbone. Oh, one of them is way up higher. Let's adjust that because the big powerful muscles of the neck attached to that. And let's not adjust your neck and see how that works. And a lot of times the pain would go away. I've always tried to look at what is deeper to the cause and more of a simple way of looking at things. Just call me simple-minded, I guess. But I think the body does have the ability to heal itself given the right tools. And we make GHK copper peptide for some reason, somewhere in our 20s, it starts to decline. Is it stress? Is it our really poor diet nowadays? I don't know, but it starts to decline. Actually elevating that, it helps restore the body to what it once was. It's not something abnormal. It's just staying younger, healthier. My hair, I still have some gray, but my hair started turning brown from back to front when I started getting more GHK copper peptide. The right bundle branch block in my heart went away over about a period of a year.
Yeah, tell me about that. What is it? I read that and I listened to you talk about that, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, right bundle branch block. The right bundle branch is the conductivity to the right ventricle. Okay, think of the heart. You got 4 chambers. The blood comes back to the right atrium, down to the right ventricle, out to the lungs, back to the left atrium, down to the left ventricle, and out to the body. So the right ventricle has to pump the blood that just came back to the heart. It has to pump it out to the lungs to get oxygen. Then it can come back and then go out to the body. Well, the electrical system is a little faulty and you don't get good, let's say, follow-up to all the blood that's coming back. And so if you look that up in PubMed, it says all-cause mortality goes up if you have one of those. Not just one thing, all-cause mortality goes up. Yet there's nothing really they can, in quotes, air quotes, nothing they can do about it. So I didn't find out until about, let's say, July of 2020. And then over a period of a year and a half, and by the way, when I had that, I used to be a distance runner. I used to run 40 to 50 miles a week when I was in my 20s. And just walking up a hill with my wife in the hills behind our neighborhood, my heart felt like it was pounding out of my chest. I thought, man, I really must be I haven't run for so long. I'm just in bad shape.
And that's what we think. That's
I'm just out of shape. If I just keep pushing harder, then it'll all come back. But it didn't. And then I found out I had that. So elevating my GHK copper peptide over a year and a half. I go back and had another one, and it said right bundle branch block no longer present. In fact, I have the slide of the app. I took a screenshot of the MyChart app. Dr. Ryder is pleased to inform you that your scan was normal with no issues noted. And it didn't just mean a lot to me. It meant a lot to my wife. It meant a lot to my kids. Yes, I do have 7 grandkids. It meant a lot to them too, to not have that facing me. And I can just go on with my life and maintain my, not going to the slide of disability and, frailty. And I'm turning 71 in July. And I feel like I got a new lease on life.
I want to ask you, because I have family members that have bad heart conditions, things of this nature. Now, I was introduced to a lot of frequency stuff, which I think is fascinating, complicated. Also, I've been using an synergized system of herbs and whatnot for 7 years now. But I met this lady named Cammie. You know her. She's how I know you. And she's talking about patches. Now, we're going to talk about those patches because part of your recovery on this was the patches, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and there is a cardiologist who now has 2 peer-reviewed studies, published studies, measuring ventricular ejection fraction. And he calls them these little stickers. He's going to be presented it to the American Heart Association and all the cardiologists, because there's a brand new technology that was the man who invented them was commissioned by the Navy in 2003 to invent. And this technology is this: put a crystal structure that doesn't exist in nature in a flat little wearable patch that you place on your body in very specific points. We emit frequencies of light. He figured out what frequencies, if I could get them back into the body, which frequency of those different frequencies, far infrared, near infrared, but also visible light, it's just not bright enough to see with human eyes, which frequencies could be used to activate different beneficial pathways in the body, like red light therapy. It's the same thing. Red light therapy we use on our face. We use it for different things. Laser therapy, it's light. It's a frequency and intensity of light. And so he figured out what to put in this patch. And now he has several different ones, but this one that the cardiologist has done studies on and measured is called the carnosine. Carnosine increases contractility of heart muscle and skeletal muscle. And so there you have it. That's why so many people have benefited from that, including myself.
That's the only one that I don't have.
But you will be getting shortly, I'll bet.
Well, I'm such a believer in this. I've been wearing these patches now since the beginning of the month, or actually middle of last month. And I'm wearing them exactly the way I'm supposed to. And I'm thinking, why am I doing all this other stuff when I've seen some of the case studies and I've seen some of the benefits? I've talked to people, courtesy of Cammie, who are using these patches, and their life has changed just from putting 4 or 5 patches in different places on their body. So I'm starting to, there's this other thing called the super patch, which does it through the skin. This one does it through light. Well, I'm a light guy. I believe that light is the essence of all of us. So when I'm thinking about putting these patches on and reflecting my natural light back into my body to produce those stem cells and to do all those kinds of things, explain to the audience, my listeners, how that's affected you from using these. I'm going to hold them up. Using these patches. This is Eon. This is the X39. These are going to be part of my life from going forward. It's one of the reasons I was really excited about you coming on, because you've been using these now for 5 years. Tell us how that's affected you. I mean, obviously your hair is getting darker and your face looks a lot better. Your face is, I've seen the before and after picture of your face. Yeah. And I'm going, this guy looks fantastic for 70 years old.
Can I show a picture?
Sure.
Okay. Let's go share screen.
See if we can do it.
Of course we are able to. I have to have that open first. Now I'm going to come back. Sorry.
No, take your time. Figure it out.
There we go. Okay. So this is me. This is what my hair used to look like. This is at my 70th birthday party last year. This is where my hair started turning brown from back to front. And here's the little thing on my app, my chart. I mean, this is what I was talking about. This is the part of this test. This was the second stress echo I had. And then I zoomed in on this part right here. Right bundle branch block is no longer present. 2 different doctors have said they've never seen one of those go away. So just for your listeners right here, this is the right bundle branch block right here. RBBP is associated with an increased risk of all-cause mortality, and indicates a poor prognosis in patients who have an acute myocardial infarction. So that's not my life anymore. And I'm very happy about that, to not have to be facing or worrying about that anymore. So I ask people this. Think about, in your city, there are people who probably in your city who went to their doctor last week for their annual physical. Some of those people are going to die this weekend from something they don't even know they have. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
This is what it sounds like. Yeah, he goes to the doctor. He's been going all the time, every year getting a checkup. We didn't know he had that. So I didn't know I had that when I first started using that patch. I didn't know until I'd been using it 4 months. You know what my first thought was? Why didn't it heal me already? So then a year and a half later, I had the second one done and found I didn't have it anymore. And so I always tell people, I think some of the biggest benefits we get from replenishing our stem cells are things we never knew we had, and we will never know because they went away. Why is that? One of the biggest things that the GHK copper peptide does is repair your cartilage. What's made of cartilage? Your aorta, your cardiovascular system. It activates repair of strong collagen, but also elastic collagen. So that's called elastin. So if your aorta is strong and flexible, guess what you're not likely to get when you get older? An aortic aneurysm. But you probably wouldn't know it unless you had some imaging done. You probably wouldn't know it until my ex-brother-in-law about 10 years ago didn't know he had it and died of a dissecting aortic aneurysm. And I don't say things to scare people. I'm just talking, hey, let's keep our bodies healthy and keep them renewing themselves and getting younger in age as we age. Instead of getting to be, frail and go into disability, let's just maintain what we have. This is what these patches do. They help a person just be the best they can be. It doesn't have anything in it that goes into you. It just helps our body maintain itself with our own regenerative cells that we made a lot of when we were younger, but we don't make so many of them when we're older. But now the opportunity exists to do that.
I think, too, from the research that I continue to read, that if you want to repair something in your body, really the stem cells, getting your stem cells to activate, it's kind of like I was listening to Dr. Raleigh. He was saying that this stuff starts moving through your body, looking at what's wrong, and starts retraining your body to fix it from light. And that to me is incredible. I mean, that's incredible. And it's kind of like, why do we go out and sit in the sun? Why do we want to take vitamin D? You said something that just blew my mind. They tell us salt's bad for us, but the minute you stroke out and they throw you in the ambulance, what's the very first thing they put in your body?
Salt bag. If you're at risk of a stroke, they give you 2 bags. But yet it's supposed to be bad for you.
And see, this is the thing. They started putting all the sugar in cereal. They created the cigarettes, and then they figured, well, let's add a bunch of chemicals to them so they keep coming back. And they've done this across the board. And when I say they, I'm talking about corporations that are looking for ways to keep you coming back. The medical profession is kind of the same way. They don't want to see you healed. I don't want to say that. What I will say is this: as long as you got a problem, they can manage it.
Right.
And the ideal is to get rid of the problem, not manage it.
Yeah, there's so many things we've been told, like cholesterol is bad. It was based on a flawed study in the 70s called the Framingham study. Low cholesterol is harmful. If you want to have dementia when you get older, take a statin drug. Why? 70% of your brain is made of cholesterol. People ask me, well, my doctor said I need to take a statin drug. And I say, do you think all of our livers are so stupid that they make cholesterol, something that can really harm us? Actually, the converse is true. All of your sex hormones have a substrate or a base molecule called cholesterol. And then it attaches different things to it. And that is testosterone. Attaches different things to it. That's estrogen. Different things to it. It's insulin. You have to start with the substrate or the base molecule of cholesterol. And you have to have that in order to maintain your health. So we won't go down that rabbit hole, but that is not true. So
so many things that are
don't
not
listen
true.
to the salt thing. Don't listen to the sun is harmful.
And I have to say too, I'm not a medical doctor. We're talking about information that we've researched. We're not talking about something that's going to fix you and cure you. We can't claim that. We can't claim that because we have a governmental entity that wants us to use pharmaceutical medicines. So we can't claim that any of this stuff is gonna cure you. We're talking about discoveries and things that are going on now that help the body. We're not sitting here saying, go put a patch on and you're going to be fine. I'm going to mention 3 words to you, and let me ask you if you know what they mean. I have a person in the chat that asked a question. Ventricular ejection fraction.
Yeah, that's what I alluded to earlier, and that's the study that Dr. Kneller is going to be presenting to the American Heart Association, to all the cardiologists, because they showed what they did is they put the carnosine patches around the heart, and they actually measured this ventricular ejection fraction. And what it is, if this is a side view of the walls of the ventricle, and then they're pumping like this to pump blood. So what happens is when you don't have good pumping of the blood, they just move a little bit like this. This is a cross section through the ventricle.
Right.
And then when it can pump more and harder, that's what carnosine does. Carnosine increases contractility of heart muscle and skeletal muscle. This is why the men's Olympic swim team with Michael Phelps used that one and the energy enhancer to win all those medals.
I saw that.
They get better blood flow, and they get better oxygenation of their muscles, and they can win races.
So yes, how were you introduced to LifeWave?
A buddy of mine called me. It's right when the quarantine thing started, end of March, first part of April. And he said, hey, you ever heard, what do you know about stem cells? And I said, well, I've had stem cell injections in both knees. They helped a little bit. And then he said, what if you could increase your stem cells by wearing a little patch? And I went into cognitive dissonance. And what are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense. Tilt, 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 tilt. So then I started researching about it, and then I found out that it elevates a peptide. So I started researching that, and over a period of a year and a half, I prepared 3 different PowerPoint presentations. I interviewed David Schmidt, who invented these patches. And so I had all of this data. And then when the right bundle branch block on my heart went away, I said, man, I'm going to find out how that happened. So I dug into the research more, and that wasn't fun. So I said, okay, somebody needs to put this in a book where people can just read about it and not have to dig through all the studies. So the result of that was How to Reverse Aging. A year later, there's another patch called the Alabita patch that elevates Epitalon. That's how you pronounce that word, by the way.
Thank you, Epitalon.
Epitalon is the synthetic form of a peptide our pineal gland makes called epithalamin. The reason the title was called The Reverse Aging Power of Epitalon is because it's the synthetic form where the research was done. It's the same 4 amino acids, but I couldn't call it epithalamine. That's what the patch looks like right there.
Right.
So
I patch up daily, by the way. Oh, I moved them around. But I patch up daily, so I get it. I understand what they do. But anyway, so with these patches, I'm going to ask you, we've got just a few minutes left, 9 minutes to be exact. Family members and patches. How many family members are using the patches?
All of them.
All of them. Okay. I expected you to say that.
Well, people ask me, which ones do you use? And all of them.
Right.
And
right.
By the way, I don't even wear them on my skin. So if anyone on this call is allergic to the adhesive in the brand name Band-Aid, it's the same adhesive. It's hypoallergenic. 1 in 10,000 will have an allergy. Pick me. Really? And so you don't even have to wear them on your skin. So I just wear them on the inside of my clothing. So I stick them to my clothing, and then the opposite side, it's the non-adhesive side. It's just the opposite side of the same stuff. And it works just the same.
Wait. How do you put it? Okay, you got a shirt.
I have. Well, you can't see it. I just put it right on. It's sticking under my collar.
So the adhesive part you stuck to the collar, and it's refracting the light. That's something I didn't know.
And here's the other thing: if you're a swimmer and you want to wear them while you're swimming, just stick it to the inside of your swimsuit. It's going to stick to that rather than your sweaty skin and wet. The moisture of the skin.
That means you're going to have 6 patches wrapped around your swim trunks.
Well, you can wear them in the water, but depending on your skin oils and your the moisture and your sweating, they might come off. The same is true getting in a sauna. So the GHK copper peptide enhances all of those other light therapies.
You've mentioned the GK peptide several times. Break it down for us. I want to know what it is when I hang up from this call. I want to know what that is exactly.
Okay, the GHK copper peptide is 3 amino. It's a signaling molecule our body makes. So signaling molecule. If something's not connected with a nerve where the nerve can send a signal down to start, your body has to get a message somehow. Insulin is a peptide. So our body makes insulin. What does that do? Well, that signals the cells to get the sugar out of the blood. Mm-hmm. Sugar in the blood is toxic over a certain level. And that's why diabetics lose their sensation in their feet, because their little capillaries get destroyed and the nerve endings get destroyed. So sugar in the blood needs to be, we have to get a signal out for something to happen. Insulin does that for sugar. GHK copper peptide is different in that it's known as the emergency response peptide. Many things. I wrote a whole book about the benefits of that. The research has gone on since 1977 about the GHK copper peptide. So think about this. There was an independent study done using the X39 patch. The question was, does wearing the patch elevate GHK copper peptide in the bloodstream? They showed that it did. The interesting thing was it didn't elevate it very much the first day, the first 24 hours. But by 7 days in, there was a huge increase. And so knowing that study was done, a double-blind randomized placebo-controlled study, does the patch elevate GHK? Yes, it does. In order to determine any potential benefit of wearing the patch, all you have to do is turn to the literature. It's been researched since 1977. Neuroregenerative, prevents cognitive decline, activates stem cells, repairs collagen, helps with oxygen movement throughout your body, activates ATP production in your mitochondria. It's involved in the last step in doing that, has anti-cancer properties. Right. I'm not telling you to not talk to your cancer doctor, but it helps reset the cellular death cycle of some cancer cells. That's known in the literature. This isn't something that LifeWave says. It's known in the research. It also turns off 25 genes that people can be born with that predispose them to get cancer. On and on and on. The book is full of it. If you want to know all the benefits, get the book. It's on Amazon. But the main thing is, even if you don't know what the research is, putting a little simple patch on your skin activates your production of that peptide. And the most important thing that I've said today is that it activates production of your own regenerative cells, known in the literature as stem cells, but the FDA makes it so we have a hard time saying that. So we call them your own regenerative cells that start out as little cells that haven't decided what they want to be when they grow up yet. And they come out and they say, oh, he needs a liver cell today. I'll be that. He needs a brain cell. I'll be that. So that's the most important thing of the message of today is the GHK copper peptide can do that by activating your own and helping your body just be the best it can be.
Well, now you've written 2 books, How to Reverse Aging, a comprehensive guide to copper peptides. Folks, I've got the book cover on it's been there all the whole show. How can people reach you? And also your clinic is it in Meridian, Idaho?
Yeah, Meridian.
Okay.
Called Clear Mind, Idaho. Clear
Mind, Idaho. And this is where are you still doing chiropractic care?
No, I haven't done that since my wristing. Okay. Yeah, it was, chiropractors have to bend the wrist. And also right. All of the impulsing on adjusting people is not good for a wrist that had.
We've got 2 minutes left.
Okay.
You basically said the very thing that people need to understand is now these patches. I'm a distributor of the patches. If anybody out there wants to get patches, you can just contact me. Those of you who know me, my email, jsmorton@protonmail.com. But I'd love to have you back on. I'm going to get both of your books and read both of them.
I'd love to be back on. I'm going to show 2 slides right here for your audience.
Please. Go ahead.
So here's a code that you can just scan if you want an autographed copy. They're not autographed off of Amazon. This goes to my office and then we ship it out to you. And here's a picture of the other book, The Reverse Aging Power of Epitalon. Epitalon is the synthetic version. The natural version is called epithalamin, but this goes into that. This is called the Fountain of Youth Peptide. So that
I noticed both of these books were relatively small. They're not, novels, and they look like they've got easy to read.
Yeah. That was my whole point is I didn't want it to be, like a scientific journal or anything, because most people don't really like reading that stuff.
Most people don't like reading PubMed.
That's exactly right.
I do read it. I do read a lot of them when it's of interest to me. Now, how do people contact you?
My email is Dr. and then my first initial, J. drjharmon@gmail.com. drjharmon@gmail.com.
Oh, that's easy enough. I'll make sure we put that in here somewhere. And I've enjoyed this. I you know what I love? I love you. You remind me of a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker. I just got back from New York.
Really?
Yeah, I literally am.
Well,
So
I've got a New York joke for you if you want it.
well, go ahead. What's the New York joke?
What's the difference between a Canadian and a New Yorker?
Oh, please tell me.
Canadian says, "How you doing, eh?" New Yorker goes, "Hey, how you doing?"
That's a fact, my friend. I just got back. I got back last Tuesday night. I went back and did a bunch of work for my sister. Her husband's having some real heart issues. And so, I know he's going to be watching the show. I think he's watching now. But anyway, I've enjoyed this. I enjoy watching your videos. I've learned a lot, particularly with the LifeWave stuff. I credit you with kind of bringing me full circle with what I've already researched. And I'm wearing them. I mean, I'm wearing them every day for 12 hours. And you mentioned in one of your videos, it's 12 hours. Your cup's full. Don't leave them on any longer than that. So I kind of get it. I really appreciate it. Go ahead.
There are several very prominent podcasters as well who are talking about these. And Sean Hannity on his show a couple of weeks ago, his radio show, talked about some of the people who are using these because the world is catching on. We don't want to be all drugged up anymore. We want to just maintain our health and energy and not have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go get regenerative treatment somewhere. Just put on a little patch every day and activate your body's own light and go on with your life.
I think if a person spent $150 on their health per month, then they would sidestep all of the medications and things that are being forced upon us that are really, in many, many cases, doing harm. And maybe the next show we can talk a little bit about spike protein and all those other things. But Dr. Harmon, I really appreciate you taking the time to spend the afternoon with us. Looking forward to having you back. And this has been fun. I really appreciate it. Next time I talk to you, I'm going to have read both of your books. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to hold you to that.
All right. Yeah, no problem. I'm a booker. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Harmon.
You're
That's
welcome.
it, folks. That's the end of this show. I hope you guys learned something from it. Please hit us up. You'll have to go to my Facebook page. I'm going to have information for you to reach Dr. Harmon on my Facebook page. We're out of here. Have a great afternoon.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks again. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.